हे गाइस, माय नेम इज अनुज कुमार शर्मा एंड वेलकम टू अपनी कक्षा। तो यार लास्ट वीडियो में हमने फॉर लूप्स में नेस्टेड फॉर लूप्स के अंदर बेसिकली पैटर्न रिलेटेड कुछ क्वेश्चंस किए थे, ठीक है। और आज हम पैटर्न रिलेटेड क्वेश्चंस कुछ और करेंगे, बट ये क्वेश्चन जो होंगे वो थोड़े एडवांस लेवल के होंगे, ठीक है। इनको कर लेने के बाद आपको फॉर लूप्स के अंदर जो नंबर है
I'm the first one that solved C, now I'm going to B and then to A. Accepted! Yes! Let's celebrate! Yes, now I have also solved D.
Let's creep while you and me repeat this bitter.
an army of computers that you infect more or less with a file that allows you to directly access their command prompt or their terminal, and you can run commands from there that will install different programs onto the computers or the infected computers, and more or less have almost complete control over those systems, depending on how far you go with it. So today we are going to talk about, again, how to create your very own botnet. And before we do this, again, you guys, I'm not advocating going ahead and creating this and infecting a bunch of computers, because that would be illegal. But we are going to talk about it because it's an interesting project and it's kind of cool to get a look at this side of things. So what we have here is our script that is going to create our botnet, or that we can add our bots to. So what's going on here, we basically have a class called bot, and this class is a template more or less for each bot that we add to our botnet. So we want to have a number of different actions that we can take with each bot, and there's certain protocols more or less that you have to move through in order to add a bot to your botnet. So that's what this class is going to do. So this first function here is the function that initializes when we create our new bot objects to add to our botnet, and you have your host, so that's the IP address of the bot. You have the user, and you have the password. So these would be the names of the name of the login and the password for the login as well, and then this would be the IP address of your infected host. So here we have also the session. So the session is more or less the way that you connect to the bot through Secure Shell, which allows you to access the terminal and run commands and download programs, do whatever you want from there. So our next function here is the Secure Shell function. But actually, before I get into that, I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys how this works here. So I'm actually just going to pop this up to another screen. I got to throw in my login information. Right now, I'm just connecting to, I'm kind of just reconnecting to my computer via my IP address and my password and username. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to throw this in here, and then I'll pull it back for you guys. So we got that. There we go. And I'm running the program now. Okay, so what's going to pop up here is a directory of all the files and folders that are on my desktop. So this is the command. I put in the ls command, which shows the folders, the directories that are in the current
What's going on,
directory
guys?
that you're in. So in this case, I'm in my desktop, and the ls command is being executed in the terminal on my computer via this script as it is, as I made it my computer a bot in my own botnet here. So this is executing that command. You get to see here, here's a list of the folders. Now I'll pull the script back here. Just 1 second.
On our own here.
Okay, so what you can do, this is just an example of one command you can run. Again, you have full access to the terminal. So what you can also do here, we'll get into what you can also do. But anyways, back up to what we were at, where we were working here. So our next function here is the Secure Shell function. So what this is doing is connecting via Secure Shell to the host, to the infected host. So you've got this right here, which is a function from the pexpect pxssh library that allows you to connect to the host, and here we have you log in with the IP address, the username and the password for the host, and then it's going to return the bot object that we created that we are going to add to the list that makes up our botnet that we can run commands.
Know how to start competitive programming so that you can ace coding interviews from Google, but you don't know how, or maybe you want to avoid making common mistakes that beginners make. This video will be split into many different parts depending on where you are. There should be a list of topics with their timestamps to my left. Make sure that you check out the list of mistakes at the end. You might think that the first step would be to learn to program, but that's not exactly the case. If you are going to learn anything online, you'll need to at least be able to understand English. I think that most people are fine with this, but just keep this in mind if English is not your native language and you don't have that much experience with it. The second thing is math. Yes, you do need math to do CS, which might make some of us a bit uncomfortable, but don't worry. Most of it can be learned along the way. You need a math level equivalent to that of a typical student in the US from grades 8 to 10, and mostly just the algebra and combinatorics, which means you can forget about geometry, trigonometry, and calculus. You also need to know very basic modular arithmetic and number theory. CS contains a lot of graph theory, but you don't need to know about it when you start. If you happen to have experience with math contests like math counts, AMC, or even Olympiads, then you're off to a great start already, and you don't need to worry that much about this. If you feel like you might need a bit of review on these topics, you can go to the math section on HackerRank, where you can do problems on number theory, combinatorics, algebra, and probability. You don't need to finish all of the problems, just make sure that you know the basics. The last thing is touch typing. Touch typing is where you type without looking at your keyboard, and it can greatly boost your typing as I do, but getting to 50 to 60 words per minute would be nice. Now we're at the second step, which is learning a programming language. You might have heard that most top competitive programmers use C++, and that's true. This is because C++ is sometimes necessary for some of the harder problems, as it is one of the fastest languages. However, if you already know a programming language that is not too obscure, then don't bother learning C++ yet. I got to Red on Codeforces, which is the Grandmaster rank, by only using Java, and I only switched to C++ after that. If you don't have any programming experience, there are several options for you. If the idea of writing code really scares you, then you can start out with Scratch, which is a visual programming language. Many kids start out using Scratch before transitioning to writing real code. I recommend most people to just start learning C++. There's a nice 9-hour video on the basics of C++. I'll include the link in the description, and I recommend you to watch and learn the first 5 or 6 hours of that video. After you finish that, you can continue by practicing the C++ skill on HackerRank, where there are a bunch of useful problems, and you don't need to finish all of them, just make sure that you know the basics. So you have now learned to program, and you want to start CP in particular. You'll need to start learning basic problem solving, algorithms, and data structures. There are several resources which you can use for this. The first one is the Competitive Programmer's Handbook, and the link will be in the description. It contains many useful concepts and explanations for beginners. The second one is the Algorithms page on Geeks for Geeks. It contains an exhaustive list of articles of the most common algorithms that you will encounter in CP. If you can't learn something in the resources above, you can always use Google to find useful articles on anything that you want to learn. To practice, one good resource which I've mentioned several times already is HackerRank. They have an algorithms section, and you can do all subdomains in this section except for the last two. The problems on HackerRank have good editorials, which are basically explanations for the problems. A question I get a lot is whether there is any roadmap or syllabus for competitive programming. The answer is most people, including me, don't follow any such roadmap. We just do whatever practice we can find. However, if you still want an ordered list of problems to practice from, you can try A2OJ ladders. These ladders contain lists of problems for people of all levels, from beginners to more experienced competitive programmers. Another list is this spreadsheet made by Mustafa Saad, and the link will be in the description. Most of the explanation videos are in Arabic, but the list of problems is still useful. In addition, contests are fun, and doing contests is also a form of practice. If you want to test out your skills, there are a few contests for beginners. The first few problems of LeetCode Weekly contests, the first few problems of AtCoder Beginner contests, and the first few problems of Codeforces Division 3 rounds are ones that I would suggest for beginners. I will introduce more contests in CP in more depth in other videos. The last step is just doing constant practice by doing problems and contests. I'll go over this in more detail in another video. So you should definitely subscribe so you'll be notified as soon as that video comes out. Okay, so let's move on. Wait, what's the step? Making a YouTube channel to flex your skills. Just ignore this step. It's just stupid. Who would ever do this? The first common mistake is relying on college courses. Although college courses such as MIT OpenCourseWare do contain good classes to learn algorithms from, the target of their courses is more for CS research than for CP. Problems that you practice in courses will not be the same as problems in CP. The second common mistake is reading too much. Although you do need to learn basic information for CP, CP is about problem solving, and reading is not problem solving. Reading is passive. When you read, your mind is waiting for the answer to appear in front of you, but you want to train your mind to be active and not passive. There's a 5% rule, which states that for every 100 minutes you spend on CP, less than 5 minutes of that should be reading. And this number only decreases as you start to learn most of the basic concepts. The third common mistake kind of goes along with the last common mistake, as if you read too much, you'll likely be learning techniques that are too advanced. If I just use the example of data structures, there are many powerful data structures out there like hash maps and segment trees. However, those data structures should only be used when necessary. In coding interviews, the interviewers are probably looking for solutions that use simpler techniques. For CP in general, harder algorithms take more time to implement, make your program slower, and more complicated programs are more likely to fail. The rule is, if you can't solve most problems which require easier techniques, then don't bother learning the harder techniques. The last common mistake is comparing yourself with others. Sometimes I receive complaints from people like, my friend started CP 1 month later than I did, but he's better than me. Am I simply too dumb for this? First of all, he may actually be practicing more than you are. Maybe he solves problems for 6 hours a day and you only do it for 3 hours a day. Well, some people will say, I'm sure my friend and I both solve problems for 3 hours a day. Even if you are sure that you guys are doing the same amount of practice, maybe he doesn't listen in class, or maybe he's antisocial and doesn't talk to anyone in class. So anyway, he is thinking of how to solve problems during class, and you aren't, so that's why he's better than you. Even if you say, I know my friend really well, I stalk him every day in every part of his life, and I'm sure that he doesn't do any extra form of practice, like thinking of problems during class. Maybe he has 5 years of programming experience already, and you only have a few months. Or maybe he used to do math contests, so his problem-solving skills will definitely be better than yours. The conclusion is, everyone will improve, just at different rates. Comparing your progress and how much you practice with others is not productive. CP is like a marathon, not a sprint, so you might only see improvement after a year of working hard for several hours per day. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, as I'll be posting more information about improving in competitive programming. You can also join my Discord server that I just started, and the link is in the description, where I'll post solutions to various contests and where you can discuss competitive programming in general with others. And that's it.
George Soros is a Hungarian-born American business magnate who has given
la presión interna de quienes consumen.
मैं मंदो तरवाल और आज वीडियो में हम बात करने वाले हैं कुछ शानदार अमेजिंग मूवीज़ के बारे में, ठीक है। तो ये वीडियो जनरल वीडियो नहीं है जहाँ पे हम कुछ एजुकेशनल सीखने वाले हैं, ये एजुकेशनल से बढ़कर है। आज हम मूवीज़ की बात करेंगे, पर ऐसी मूवीज़ की बात यार जो कि शायद आपकी ज़िंदगी बदल सकती हैं, ठीक है। तो आपने काफ़ी बार सुना होगा कि बच्चे है ना कॉलेज जाके मैच्योर हो जाते हैं। टू बी ऑनेस्ट मुझे लगता है बच्चे कॉलेज में मैच्योर इसलिए होते हैं शायद क्योंकि वो बहुत ज़्यादा मूवीज़ देख लेते हैं, क्योंकि तुम्हारे दोस्त तो तुम्हें मैच्योर नहीं कर सकते, मैं अपने दोस्तों को जानता हूँ नहीं। तो आप काफ़ी मूवीज़ देखते हो, आप 6-7 मूवीज़ देखते थे, उनमें से एक मूवी ऐसी होती थी जो कि आपको अंदर से हिला देती है, मतलब आपको बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिलता है। तो आज हम वैसी कुछ 15-17 मैंने मूवीज़ आपके लिए इकट्ठी करी हैं और 3 कैटेगरी में करी हैं, रिलेशनशिप, लाइफ लेसन्स एंड जस्ट अमेजिंग मूवीज़। तो कुछ बेसिक टिप्स हैं ये वीडियो आगे प्रोसीड करने से पहले कि इफ़ वी आर नॉट लर्निंग देन देयर इज़ नो पॉइंट। मतलब आप कोई भी मूवी देख सकते थे, ये वीडियो अगर आप बेस्ट मूवीज़ के लिए देख रहे हो सो इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट कि हम उनमें से कुछ सीख के जाएँ। तो अगर आपकी जैसे इंग्लिश वीक है तो आप क्या कर सकते हो, प्लीज़ वॉच मूवीज़ विद सबटाइटल्स। तो सबटाइटल्स के साथ देखते हैं तो क्या होता है, एक तो आपकी रीडिंग स्पीड बढ़ती है, साथ में यार आपके कुछ शब्द होते हैं जिनके साथ आप फेमिलियर होते हो पर उनका कॉन्टेक्स्ट नहीं पता होता।
Thank you very much, and welcome to Tell the Truth. Our first guest, he's made a career out of being the most outrageous imposter that we've ever come across on this show, and you're going to see what I mean.
Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is Frank William Abagnale.
Number 2.
My name is Frank William Abagnale.
Number 3.
My name is Frank William Abagnale.
From 1964 to 1967, I successfully impersonated an airline pilot for Pan Am Airways, and I flew over 2 million miles for free. During that time, I was also the chief resident pediatrician at a Georgia hospital and an assistant attorney general for the state of Louisiana. By the time I was caught, I was considered the youngest and most daring con man in U.S. history. I had cashed almost $4 million in fraudulent checks in 26 foreign countries and all 50 states. And I did it all before my 19th birthday. My name is Frank William Abagnale. So, for the first time, he's going to have to tell the truth, and we're going to start our questioning with Kitty.
Thank you. Number 1, why, with all your talent, and you're obviously a very bright fellow, why didn't you go in for a legitimate profession?
It was really a question of dollars and cents. When I was a young man, I needed the money, and I thought this list of careers was the easiest way to get it.
I see. Number 2, I find this all very fascinating. Who was it that finally caught you?
His name was Carl Hanratty.
I see. Hanratty. Carl Hanratty. Carl Hanratty. The FBI for the United States of America. Yeah. I have orders to see the American prisoner Abagnale. Il n'y a pas d'Américain. Il n'y a pas tous des Américains. Il n'y en a pas. S'il vous plaît. Oui.
You sit here, you do not open the door, you do not pass him anything to the hall. Demeurez avec lui tout le long de la conversation et vous rapportez.
You know, I got a little bit of a cold myself. Frank, I'm here to read the articles of extradition according to the European Court for Human Rights. Article 1. Extradition shall be granted in respect of offenses punishable under the laws that require deprivation of liberty and a detention order for the maximum period of at least 1 year of a severe penalty.
Help me.
Frank, stop it. You don't think you're actually going to fool me, do you? 16 pages to go. Stay with me. Article 2. If the request for extradition includes several separate offenses, each of which is punishable under the law, the requesting party by deprivation of liberty. Frank. Frank.
Send me a doctor in here! I need a doctor!
Yes.
Doctor, now!
Don't sweat it, Frank. We're going to get you right to a doctor.
Bande encore, monsieur. Mettez-le ici.
Frank, if you can hear me, don't worry. I'm going to take you home in the morning. Home in the morning, Frank. What are you doing?
Washing off the lights.
This man has to be on a plane for America. He has to see a doctor.
The doctor comes in tomorrow.
I have worked too long, too hard for you to take this away from me. If he dies, I'm holding you responsible.
Monsieur! Tout le monde derrière moi ici.
Frank.
Okay, Carl. Let's go home.
The New Rochelle Rotary Club has a history that goes back to 1919. And in all those years, we've only seen a handful of deserving gentlemen inducted as lifetime members. It's an honor that has seen 57 names enshrined on the Wall of Honor. And tonight, we make it 58. So please stand as I present my very good friend, a man who keeps our pencils sharp and our pens in ink, Frank William Abagnale.
I stand here humbled by the presence of Mayor Robert Wagner and our club president, Jack Barnes,